That's funny.
Oh no, I wrecked that too.
I can't hear it. Oh well. Oh, welcome to Just Two Camera Guys. I'm Nick, and on the other side of the screen is Emery, and together we are Just Two Camera Guys, where we talk about all things camera. And actually, we end up talking a lot about budgeting for camera gear and all that kind of stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into later.
Yeah. And maybe we'll even talk about how I completely botched that intro for us.
that a little audio was missing. It's all right. So on the show today, we have Kelsey Rowe, Canadian Kelsey. She came out to one of the Leroy and Leroy meetups, and with her, Emery, she had a Canon R6.
Nice.
And it was just like, whoa, you've got a nicer camera than I've got. What's going on here? And then I saw the video that she made about the meetup of her coming down to the meetup and seeing us and then going. It was a really well done video. And I just thought we need somebody to boost up our little show. So.
Someone to make us better, right?
If she'll come on, why not?
Yeah, for sure. Should I bring her in then, Nick?
Yeah, let's bring her in.
Cool. So joining us today is Kelsey Rowe. Hey, Kelsey.
Whoa,
hi guys. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Yeah, good. Kelsey, I guess let's get into it first. I think we need to learn a little bit about you. So what is your gig? What are you currently doing?
Okay, so yeah, I'm a marketing consultant and media producer. So my background is majority in photography, which I picked up on my own when I was quite young. Like I think it was around 10. I always forget like the actual age, but it was like grade 5-ish. And then I just really didn't think of photography as like a career that people could do full time. And I thought, like all the photographers that I kind of knew, like it was a side hustle. It was a side like thing. They just did it for fun. They went out and they did some like landscape stuff, wildlife stuff, and then showed art galleries. And I was just, like that's all I knew of photographers. And then I actually went to a meetup in Toronto. And it was just this great big community of photographers. And I was like, whoa, like you guys are doing this like for real. You're making money and working with brands and doing amazing things, traveling the world, whatever that looks like for them. There's a guy out here that full-time takes wildlife photography and sells his photos all over the world. And on the buses in Banff are his photos, So I just realized that like, oh, like I can be passionate about this and I can do something about it. And through that, I kind of transitioned into social media marketing and just marketing in general. I traveled the world for a number of years as a model and was doing travel blogging. So I was kind of doing that for a little while, and that got me more interested on the video side of things, as well as helping other brands figure out their social media and their marketing and what that looks like for them. So yeah.
So you were traveling as a model and you just it was kind of like, well, I'm going to all these places. I may as well film a bit while I'm there. Was that kind of the idea?
Yeah, exactly. And, I started to think that people aren't seeing what I'm seeing or aren't experiencing what I'm able to experience. So why not share that? So I felt that was like really important to share with everyone. And yeah.
So how do you see that like fitting in? Would you consider yourself an influencer? Because that sort of feels like the train that influencers sort of take.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I guess there's kind of this weird balance between like photography and like having a lot of followers, but some of my followers were from like my modeling days. So they kind of expect that from me. And then in like just, posting these videos on TikTok and things like that, my audience grew quite a lot in the last year. So I guess I'm kind of like a little influencer as well. So there's kind of that balance. But one thing that I've learned from influencers is quite often they have a secondary job or like something else that they're kind of selling in addition to. And I guess for me, that's kind of the marketing and the photography side of things.
Oh,
For
nice.
Sure. Yeah. So you actually, you have a day job with a marketing company, correct?
Yeah, they're actually a business coaching company and I'm their marketing manager. So yes, I just consult on all things marketing from their social media. I help them set up a video room to continue recording videos, even if I'm not there. But then I also edit it, post it, help them get leads and sales and things like that.
Nice. And then at Canadian Kelsey is sort of your own brand that you run everything else under.
Yeah.
Cool. Nick, I'm gonna make you happy with this just because I'm gonna follow your list of stuff here a little bit. But the camera you're using, Nick always likes to talk gear, so let's jump into gear right away. What is the stuff that you're using to
I had a feeling, so
oh, you got it right there. Nice.
I've got the Canon R6. It is the one of their new mirrorless cameras, and then I have just the kit lens, which is the 24-105 on there. And at the time when I got it, everything was camera shortage. There was no lenses available, so I pretty much got the kit lens as like, I'm not going to have a lot of options for lenses right now, so I've got to figure something out for now because my other camera just was not holding up to what I needed it to do. So yeah, I decided to go with this one, and then they happened to have one with a kit lens, and I was like, great, let's do that because I don't have to wait 3 months for a lens. I can always sell this one later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've kept it and I just absolutely love it so far.
What was your other camera?
It was a Canon T7i.
Oh, the T7i. Yeah.
So it's like a big step, like yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, you guys will both make fun of me because first I take so few stills that I still have my 1DC, which is like 10 years old now, 8 years old. It's really old.
We can't make that much fun of you. It probably still takes just as good as
cameras. I was like, if you know how to use it, you're better than someone with a brand new camera, right?
Yeah. What do you use for your audio too? Because you do a lot of like these videos where you're on site. You're actually kind of interviewing people in that too.
For myself, I just use the Rhode Video Pro, like the shotgun mic. So I've been looking at upgrading to like a lav mic and something like that. But yeah, for what I've been doing, it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, and that camera's been good for you too. Like it's sharp. It's even with that kit lens, it's doing everything you need.
I mean, that and more, like, it's a big step up from what I was using. And even like the color profile on it is amazing. And like the fact that I have like 120 at 1080 is really good for like birds and things like that. And that's what I kind of like to do in my spare time. So it's great to catch some of that wildlife work too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Jumping back to Nick's sort of plan here, social media tips for brands. So you do your marketing thing, you do your own thing, you've experienced a lot. So now sort of separating it from you personally to a brand, what are sort of like your go-to tips for brand in marketing scenarios?
Yeah, I actually just talked to someone the other day, and I think this is a perfect example. They are saying, oh, we are bringing up they're doing like, they're filming videos and they're like, I want to step up our videos. I want to get a camera. What camera should I get? And so I asked them, what's your lighting situation? What's your audio situation? And they're like, oh, like, I don't know, it's all on my phone. I don't really do anything. And I said, well, you should upgrade your lighting and your audio before you should upgrade your camera, especially if you're using one of the like newer iPhones already. They have really good video and really good film qualities and photo qualities and can shoot things like RAW. So their capabilities are amazing. And so I just said to them, if you're using that already, like, great. Don't worry about spending another $1,000 on that. Get a couple hundred and get some good lights and some good audio going. And that's going to improve your video quality for your social media a lot more.
Yeah,
that's great advice.
That's really good, actually. Do you separate that like from like, is that more important for a brand than it is for someone doing their own thing or trying to hit sort of that influencer kind of type?
I think with the influencer kind of type, you're looking more at, I think it'd be more about the color grading, like the color editing versus the camera itself, because social media, for example, doesn't need a high quality camera to have a really good photo. You can, as like professional photographers, tell that like a camera is lower quality than another image. However, for the majority of people, they don't necessarily know and can't really tell. So I think it more comes down to color grading and learning how to edit than it does also like the camera quality. So even if you're buying like a cheaper camera that has slightly better quality than an iPhone, taking that and knowing how to adjust the colors or play with the colors and really make a more cohesive energy on your Instagram and on your social media is more important for people who are influencers or photographers, things like that.
You know what's so funny about that, Emery? So Emery's
I think
Facebook
what I think
page
is funny is going to be totally different than what you think is funny. But
so him and there's a woman named Susan that run the Facebook page Chasing Yesterday, and Emery, when they go to a shoot, he sets up his tripod and he pulls out his filters and he's putting filters in and he's got it all whatever, and he takes this picture. And the clouds look amazing and it's streaking. It looks really impressive. But then the partner that goes out there with him takes out her iPad and fires away some pictures. And there's no difference in engagement. Like their engagement's off the charts. Like
actually, Susan's
hundreds and hundreds of likes and comments on their pictures. And it doesn't matter. It's funny.
And Susan's posts consistently have more than they'll have way more shares, way more comments and stuff on them. She gets a little more like engaging with it than I do. But do you know what I found funny about it, Nick? And I'm going to turn this into a question for Kelsey. So you met up with Leroy and Leroy. Did they have like their gear there? Did Nick show you what they actually used to do that?
Yeah, we got in a whole gear convo.
So talking about using a phone, your whole advice was like, just use your phone. Don't upgrade your stuff. The cameras are pretty good. Is Nick doing Leroy and Leroy like complete just overkill?
I'm like, use what you got. Use what you're comfortable with. So like, if Nick's comfortable with that, for sure, use that. And I mean, the one thing that they do well is the audio, because like I knew that like, you know, Leroy number one on camera, Leroy was way over there, and somehow the audio was amazing. And so like that was a conversation I had when I was there, and I just said, what audio, like what are you using to capture that? Because yeah, that was something that I noticed right away over like the camera quality or like the video quality. Not to mention TikTok crushes your quality, but like, you know, we won't talk about that.
I know. I'll send sorry, I always want to call him by his last name. I'll send Leroy his the file to upload, and I'll send him a 4K file, and he'll be like, send me an HD file. I don't want the 4K.
I just want to take a pause here and say hello to Carolyn and Tigger, who's following.
Oh, you got the comment on the screen.
Yeah, we got a comment up there. And actually, anybody else listening on Facebook or YouTube, you can actually comment in if you have a question for Kelsey. Let us know. I'll throw it up there. Hopefully, I will pay attention and see it. I'm not too sure how long Carolyn's comment was there for, but yeah, we'll run through that stuff as well. Yeah. You know, so take something like Chasing Yesterday. It's kind of like this. I don't know if you've looked at it, but it's we have a good following on it. It's essentially kind of like a landscape photography thing. And I think we have like 30,000 followers with it, but like, we're not making money on it. We're also not really like, we sell calendars, and that sort of pays off our website and like our few other expenses, but that's about it. Is there anything else you could maybe recommend for us to do, how we can sort of tap that audience and maybe make some money.
Yeah, so you shoot landscape across Canada, or is it just in like Saskatchewan area, or where
It's predominantly Saskatchewan, and actually, to give you a better idea, it's like a lot of that rural, the old farms, old barns.
It's like barns that are falling down, old churches.
Mhm.
Actually, I'd say 80% of your stuff is barns and churches.
Yeah,
but it's good. Like, people have this weird connection to it. And
Yeah, people love it.
And it's like they'll get stuff where it's, oh, I remember that church. That's the church that my parents got married in or something. And yeah, like a emotional connection people are making with these photos and stuff.
Yeah, and like Nick said, we do have quite a few comments and stuff, so it does feel like an untapped market. So, I mean, I know you're not looking at it and seeing it, but is anything jumping to mind that would be like good to actually try and make money off of it?
Yeah, actually, my grandma is from Saskatchewan, so fun fact.
Oh, no way.
She loves like the grain elevators and things like that. Like, she just loves seeing them, like it's such good memories for her. And a lot of like where she lived like burnt down over the years, different parts have burnt down, or like the grain elevators burnt down, so there's not a lot of them left. The first thing that honestly pops to mind is like a photography tour. So kind of mapping out some barns or some grain elevators that like you've taken photos of and taking people there. Like, people love to do photography tours around the world. So maybe there's something there if that seems appealing to you. I think the calendars is great. If you can get postcards in stores, things like that. And I think a lot of it too is making your audience more aware of just the fact that you have something for sale without being too salesy. Like, there's that fine line of being like, buy this, versus like, hey guys, like we just released this, maybe you want to check it out. Yeah.
I told you postcards just last week. This is a sign.
I'll be your first postcard buyer. I always send my grandma little notes.
I wouldn't even be surprised if your grandma doesn't follow us already.
See, postcards are great because they're not like, you can still sell a print, but a postcard, you can send it out to somebody for 50 cents and you can charge, they'll get their thing $5 all in. It's an easy buy.
Yeah. Yeah, like greeting cards are the same, like just little like thank you cards or best wishes cards or miss you cards, like very simple little things that are just like thinking of you. But yeah.
My other thing I do, like under my own banner, it's Emery Black Ice for everything else. I kind of do like, I almost hate using the term, but like fine art landscape stuff. So super saturated, super contrasty. Lately it's been super minimal. Is the advice for something like that the same? Like, start getting into sort of some products to sell and some services to sell?
So by fine art, you just mean like, is it more abstract than some of the like landscape images you're looking at?
Yeah, like my next photos, I have 2 that I'll be pumping out tomorrow probably. It's just a pure black with the moon on it, a little half crescent, and then I kind of screwed up in Photoshop and inverted it, and I was like, man, this looks awesome too. So like it's going to be the positive and negative of that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that showing editing is a possibility. So like how you edit those types of photos, or even like your thought process behind that, because sometimes people can't really like learn a thought process, right? Like it's all their own thought process, and sometimes I'm just like, how do they even think to do that? Or like, was it an accident, like you created? And I know there's a girl on Instagram, I think her Instagram's like Erin Outdoors. She uses like miniatures and then creates these whole scenes around these like miniatures. And I don't know if you've seen her, but she'll create like Antelope Canyon out of like paper bags, and like it just looks so cool because it's like miniature. And so she's got these really creative, unique ideas that you just wouldn't really normally have thought of. And now she works with brands and makes a living off of that, you know? So I think there's lots of opportunity for the fine art stuff as well. You know, I myself have a photo where it's just like the plain sky, like I'm just looking up at the sky and it's like a cloudy, ugly day. So it's like a gray day, and then there's like an eagle right in the middle of the frame, and it's like one of my favorite photos. And I'm like, I don't know if anyone would actually buy this, but I like it.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Go ahead.
Do you have a consulting side of your business? Because these ideas you've come up with in the last 5 minutes are like really good, really, really good.
Absolutely, I do. Yes, I'm just starting to create that offering. So I've just started to talk to a few people and get some things sorted out. So definitely, if there's interest there, you can check me out. Hit me a DM at Canadian Kelsey, or my company, which is rybcreative.com.
Cool. One of the other things you're just sort of mentioning there about doing photos for yourself, is that sort of important? Do you find that stuff important to you?
Like the eagle photos, like that kind
Yeah.
of thing. I don't know if I would necessarily say important, but I would say that it's always helped me create that outlet. And I think sometimes being like a social media marketing, you know, brand photographer, we can get really wrapped up in only doing that. And so I think that taking the time for ourselves to reimagine the creative process is a huge deal for creatives.
Yeah. What about for yourself? Like, I guess maybe the better question is how do you keep yourself inspired to keep up with all this stuff, to keep up with those marketing trends, and then to, you know, pursue it on your own and to do your own thing?
A lot of it is honestly feedback for me. When people get excited about what I'm doing, what I'm checking out, the things, the knowledge that I have, that excites me even more to find out more, to do more. But I do take my own downtime like daily, meaning I need a lot of battery recharge time. So I will watch TV, I will journal, I will meditate. I have joined some sports specifically so that I can get some fitness in, because I'm not a big gym person. But it's also about that social aspect for me and just having conversations that are not work related and finding out what people are curious about. Like, what do people not know, or what are they seeing in the world today, or like, you know, what's going on. And I mean, there's a lot going on in the world today, but you know, what's inspiring them and what's creative for them. And sometimes things like that, I'm like, oh yeah, like I can use this in this way in my business, you know? So sometimes it's like the smallest things that can kind of trigger you, but ensuring that I have that time to be myself, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. I respect that a lot. That's awesome. Like, obviously, like as an older guy, like a lot of the times the social media stuff, like it gets to me. Very recently, actually this last week, like I shut off, I don't know what it's called, but like those little red indicator things on my phone that tell me I have an email waiting and stuff, because that was giving me anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And now, like, just shutting it off, it's been kind of nice, and shutting off a bunch of other stuff. Do you go like as far as that? Like, I feel like you're probably a lot more connected than I am. So or I guess maybe the better question is it traumatic to be losing some of those things?
So I think they're called badges, if I'm like not mistaken. So they're like the little red icon badges that tell you how many emails and how many notifications you have. So I actually have them turned off for like all of my social media platforms. So like Instagram, TikTok, everything like that. So when I go on to Instagram or on to TikTok, that's when I see my messages. It's not because it's showing I have a message, so I go on. Or if I know I'm communicating with someone through Instagram, I might check Instagram like a little bit more often. And the only ones that I do have turned on are like text message notifications, because typically that's my family. and email notifications because that's work. So those are the two I kind of pay attention to the most. But yeah, like those buttons, those little icon things drive me insane. And I've seen people that have like 300 email notifications, and I'm like, how do you manage life? Like I'm just like, that is too many for me. Like that is so much anxiety for me. I just can't have those little icons. They drive me insane.
I'm kind of shocked by that because that's exactly what I did too. So my first day I did it, I missed a text from my mom, and I was like, oh, I can't have that. So I flipped it back on for my text message.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and like
No,
the
that's
new
true.
iPhone, like the new iPhone has the like sleep mode and work mode and like all those different modes. So now you can set like which apps you want it to like push through. So when I have my work mode on, I have like my emails, my Google Calendar, like texting, like, you know, I've got like a couple of things compared to when I'm just like personal and sitting at home. I might have more things turned on. But in general, yeah, most of mine are turned off.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's probably great advice for anybody trying to do this sort of stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to have, I remember, like with Leroy and Leroy, we were getting all these messages coming in, and I was checking them. And you know, like Emery knows me pretty well. I can be, I don't know, sensitive, I guess would be the right word, where like somebody says something mean, it's like, oh no, what's going on? And so there was like a couple of the mean ones came in, and I was like phoning up the other guy, like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? And finally he's just like, just stop looking at those, Nick. Like, I'll take care of it. I'll block. Like, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. You edit the videos. You take care of that. And don't worry about it. So, yeah, ever since that happened, it's been nicer.
Yeah.
Nick says he's sensitive,
like,
but
so shocking some of the things that people would kind of like about, like,
yeah,
like, dude, it's just a video, like chill, like I'm trying to be funny or I'm trying to like do whatever. Like I did this one where I recorded myself, it was someone else's sound, so it wasn't even my voice, but it was a woman's voice, and I was recording myself, and she's basically saying like, I hate everyone and I just want to go off and be alone and like don't bother me. And then all of these people are like, well, then why are you putting it on TikTok? Why are you writing this on social media? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, and then there would be people like, yeah, I can relate. And I'm there for those people that are like, yeah, I can relate. You know, like that's my job. And so like to those people, I'm like, well, I showed up on your For You page. So what is that saying about you, you know?
You know what the funny part is I actually watched that video, and I was kind of, because you were out in nature and stuff, and too, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of nice. Never crossed my mind that someone would say something.
Just like casually walking along, and then I'm like, I hate you all. But yeah, it wasn't even like my voice or anything, but then everyone just thought it was me and didn't like, you know, I think a lot, you know, TikTok is very new for a lot of people, so they didn't know that like a sound is a thing. And I mean, you know, it worked out for me because got me views and follows because everyone's commenting how much, like how crazy I am to post this on TikTok when I just want to be alone. I mean, the other thing is I'm off in the mountains, you know, and there's no service in the mountains. So I'm not posting it when I'm in the mountains. So like, I can't even post that. And then they're like, well, why are you posting it? And I'm like, well, like, this is like 2 months ago, bro, like chill.
Yeah, that's funny. You know, on the flip side of that, has there been lots of comments, you know, that are just like, you know, beyond overly positive? And I guess, how does that make you feel when those come in? Because I know they exist. They happen to us on Chasing Yesterday all the time. So
yeah, I mean, it does. It like lights your soul. Like you just feel so good when someone can relate to something that you're saying and what you are doing. So even in that video where I was like, I hate everyone and I want to be alone, like, you know, everyone has those moments where they're just like, I want to escape and I want to go off into the mountains and just be by myself, and like whatever happens happens, you know, like they just want to experience something that's not happening right now. Or you know, I've used some other quotes and some other kind of inspirational things over top of my videos, and like same thing, you know, you get people who are like, oh my God, like I can relate, or they have a story of like their grandparents did this thing and, you know, this reminds them of it and all this stuff, you know. So like there's so many different variations on like positive good things that do happen on social media. And I have been super, super lucky that like the community that I have currently is a very positive, open community who's like willing to listen. They want to be motivated. They want to be inspired. They want to go out into the nature, into the mountains. So yeah, like I have, an amazing community, which I'm really happy about. And, not every video is going to make everyone happy. So
yeah, for sure. Like I said, ours is the same way. And honestly, like some of the stuff is incredible. Like we'll post photos of an old house and like people will talk about their time living there. Like, and we're like, what? How do you know this is your house? And like, they'll go through it. And like, sure enough, they used to live there like 50 years ago. Like it's crazy, mind boggling stuff. Although unlike Nick too, I don't tend to focus on the negative comments. Not that we got a whole pile, but and I'd also like to just point out that Nick really likes to focus on those negatives. So we were playing. There was a Pats game this weekend we're working at. My whole family comes down. I bring them into the control room, and what's the one thing out of Nick's mouth? Do you want to say it, Nick, or should
I? Said welcome, have a good game. Yeah. I made fun of you, but I can't remember what I said.
You were like, I'm the one who tells Emery how to do his job, like, follow the puck. So that's what I get to deal with every day.
Just this constant negativity.
Oh boy.
Nick, actually, the other funny part is we always bug Nick for doing the compliment sandwich thing. So like one of the things that's pretty common on the radios now is hey Nick, you're doing a good job, but yeah. Anyway, sticking with Nick here as a topic. So yeah, he's with this thing with Leroy and Leroy. So we've talked about, the little landscape stuff. We talked about chasing yesterday, which is doing okay. Leroy and Leroy, this behemoth of a thing. What is there anything you're seeing there that, maybe these, like, why are these guys not doing this? Like, it's just driving you nuts about them.
Honestly, yeah, it was a a quick little conversation we had when I like met up with them. And honestly, like, I'm just so obsessed with like everything that they're doing, like just making fun of all these signs around town or all these little crazy things that like the cities do or create, or the art around. I remember the Calgary Blue Ring, which nobody in Calgary likes and appreciates at all. And they're like, yeah, we're just out here to see the blue ring. There's nothing else out here. I don't know why this is here, but like, I just think that upfront comedy is so needed. And I mean, I just think they could do it all around the world. Like, I think that's great. I went to the parking lot with my roommate, and he was making fun of one of the signs because, and I said like, oh, like, it sounds like you're Leroy and Leroy. Because, it had a sign that just said like, it was like slippery, and then like had one of those like cartoon guys where it looks like they're falling. And then he's like, oh, I guess they start breakdancing when they're slippery. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I was like, where did that even come from, But, it's those lighthearted moments that like people need right now. So like, I personally think everything that they're doing is great so far.
Yeah. Actually, that's probably good advice as well. I think like when you do get into the thick of like marketing and what works on social media, humor is probably one of the largest things that actually works on social media.
Mm-hmm. Relatability is definitely key.
For sure. We're kind of wrapping up the questions we had here for you. But I guess kind of one of the big overlooming things in my mind is we're doing this shift from traditional media to new media, which you're very much a part of. So where do you see things going in the next 5-10 years? Where do you see things going for you in the next 5 or 10 years? Oh
gosh, that's a tough one. Like seeing into the future when things don't even exist yet. But with a lot of this like metaverse stuff and virtual reality, like I have no idea of the potential that's there, but I'm sure there's going to be something there for brands to really push more into that. Like maybe there will be a possibility of like virtual stores, you know, instead of like having to go to the mall and try stuff on, you can try it on in your house, you know. Like I don't know what some of those possibilities look like. I definitely think in the near future it's going to be really focused on video and photo for sure, at least for like the next couple of years still. And I think for any brands that are kind of wondering where do we start or what do we do here, you know, like Instagram has really crushed from the beginning the small guys, you know, like the people who are just trying to make it and who are trying to make a living. So I think diversifying your platforms and trying things out, you know, Twitter works amazing for some people and not at all for other people. You know, TikTok works amazing right now for most people, and that might not last forever, you know? So I think trying to figure out a way to make that happen. And for myself, a lot of the videos that I post are just clips of random moments in the day. And sometimes that's all people want to see is just like pretty stuff, like pretty scenery, pretty things that are around, the moments that you appreciate, you know, the sunset, like I have this 2-second video and I wish it was longer because in this video, I am just obsessed with this snowflake that fell on my leg, like when we were out hiking. And I was just like, oh my God, this is the most perfect little snowflake you have ever seen in the entire world. And I wish I kind of had that on video because for me, it was just such a moment. Like I was just like, oh, I see this snowflake and like, wow, like it looks like a snowflake. It looks like a cartoon snowflake. And it's just like sitting there on my lap and, you know, because it's kind of cold out, it's not really melting. So it's just kind of sitting there. And, you know, so it's just these little tiny things and adding the sounds, you know, you don't necessarily have to talk about your brand or, you know, but just getting started and just saying like, hey, this is what I do. And this is what I'm hoping for out of this community. Can you help me get there? You know, people want to help and people want to be involved in your journey, whatever that looks like. So finding that community and finding those people. And if you don't have that community, say that, you know, hey, I'm on TikTok and this is what I like doing. Do you like to do this too? You know, that's how I found, like, I just moved back to Calgary area. So I only have friends from TikTok. Literally all of my friends I've made have been through TikTok this last year. And they're like, hey, I saw you're hiking, or like, oh, I saw that you like going ice skating. Like, let's go do that together. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm down. Like, let's go do that, you know? Obviously be safe and like within reason. So like, you know, don't go with a sketchy character if you get a weird feeling.
Don't go with Nick.
But yeah, just trying to really build your own community and what feels right. If video just in your soul is like, I will die if I post a video, then don't do a video. Do photos on Instagram, do Twitter, do Facebook, you know, do other things. I guess one of my things for this year is doing more podcasts, doing more lives. I want to get in front of people. I want to get the experience of being on the spot and showing what I have to offer and showing more people that, you know, because it's tough. And the last 2 years with COVID was tough for everyone. And it's part of the reason I took the full-time job, because they're just, you know, I couldn't meet people because everyone was locked down. So I couldn't meet people to work with them to help market their companies and things like that. So yeah, now things are starting to get rolling again, and I'm able to post some photography content and some work that I've been doing. And now I've started having people being like, hey, can I ask you a marketing question? Can I talk to you about photography? Can we like, you know, hop on a call? And like, that's where I'm like, okay, I've been kind of, you know, grinding at this for like a year now, and now it's starting to pay off, you know? But yeah, it was definitely tough during COVID.
Cool. I don't know if we want to talk about COVID that much and what that was actually like.
Are you gonna get like blocked by Facebook?
Yeah. No, that's some really good stuff there too. Like you know, kind of that idea of like just asking your community. That's the kind of stuff that works too on our Facebook page, like thinking about it. And yeah, like people definitely are willing to help. I think maybe
Oh,
on
it's
my own
so
personal, I could do a
good.
little better at that.
I've noticed that, Emery, like as I've gotten older, helping is just so like somebody comes to me and asks for help or for advice with something, it's just like it 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 makes the person that you're asking feel so good. Like it's just as beneficial for them as it is for you, the person that's getting the help. It's really
Mhm.
it's a great not only it's a great strategy and it's just a great way to live by. I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And definitely after what we've heard here today, people should be asking you, Kelsey, what they should be doing for
Yeah.
marketing and stuff. You mentioned podcasts too. Do you actually have your own podcast, or is it more like coming on shows like this?
Yeah, it's more coming on shows. I honestly just like don't have the bandwidth to also handle a podcast right now. You know, maybe down the road I will. I don't currently really know what I would do it on. The biggest thing that I always like kind of say to myself is I don't know what people don't know because I've been in the industry so long, because I've been in marketing. And I mean, you know, Nick might be like same with you and Emery, like, you know, with video or like photography, for example. It's just they're like, oh, what is ISO? And you're kind of in your head like, how do you not know what ISO is? But lots of people don't know what ISO is, right? Like it's the light. It has to do with the settings on your camera. But you know, I even had a friend who was a photographer who shot on, I think it was AV and like JPEG. And they were a professional camera, like professional photographer. And I was like, how? I mean, your photos are great, but like she didn't even know how to set like the shutter speed properly or how to set the ISO properly. And here she is like as an amazing photographer. So like it just goes to show you sometimes that, I mean, you don't have to be professional to like jump into whatever you love doing. You just figure it out on the way. And then, yeah, like when people come to you and ask, how do you do that? Yeah, it definitely like lights you up. You're just like, oh wow, like I feel so smart. I feel like I know something. All that time, all that energy I put in year after year, I finally know something. Yeah.
How long do you think it's taken you to learn, like to get to your level of camera where you're at right now?
I guess I'd say 3 years. But that's pretty slow. I am sure you can be better at figuring out the camera settings than I was. I only figured out like RAW maybe like 4 years ago. I was shooting for like quite a while on manual, but I don't feel like I really knew what the settings necessarily meant or what they necessarily did. And then I guess from there, I started to learn like Lightroom and Photoshop and stuff. And that was a whole other kind of learning for those programs because they're completely different in the way that they are. So learning how to adjust the lighting and how to adjust the white balance and the histogram and all these fancy terms that everyone knows. But yeah, just like figuring that all out. And so I think, I mean, even now, like I'm still learning, like, you know, there's so much that's always changing and like there's always new techniques or something else to try. And the rules are kind of always changing, but it's kind of like once you know the rules, you can break them. So you can figure out like, what is everyone else doing? I don't want to do that necessarily. I want to go off and do this. I want to try this. And sometimes we're like way ahead of the curve, you know, like as creatives, people are like, oh, like that's so weird. Why would you post that? Or like that looks so strange. But then you see in 5 years that everyone's doing that. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like I was just too early for you guys. Okay.
I don't know if I've ever had that experience, but yeah, actually the learning thing, I always think it's funny. So, like I said, Nick and I both went to film school. So I came out of film school in 2005, I think. Worked in industry, was a quote unquote professional. And come like 2010 or something, I was doing some stuff and I'm just like, I know nothing about this. Like, what am I doing? And then it was 2013 when I really started doing some photography stuff. Long story. I got mad at my camera and I decided I needed to do something with it that wasn't work. So I was going to do all these time lapses because I was still a video person. And when I did all the time lapses, just nothing was turning out. And like, I couldn't figure out for the life of me what I was doing wrong. And then I started like, I had one photo I took that it was like, this one worked. Why did it work? And that's when I sort of started realizing like what lighting is in nature specifically and how to play and toy with it. And I was like, oh, and that sort of clicked in me. And then from 2013 to 2014, I had like this massive growth period. And then ever since then, it's been like this sort of like just refining. And the same as you, like I'm still learning. Like there's every day I'm watching something new and like, oh, man, I should try this or try this technique. One of the things I'm doing now is it's a one ICM thing, intentional camera movement. Not sure if you ever heard of that, but it's where you slow down your shutter. In this case, I think what was sort of working for me was like a quarter second and you move the shutter or you move your camera while it's on. It creates this motion blur, but it looks pretty good. So yeah, just stuff like that. And there's always things that you can learn, always things that you can do. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah. I think the best way to learn is honestly like trying to imitate somebody else's work, trying to figure out what were they doing? What was the light like at that time? What were the colors like? If the colors were like this, how did they manipulate it to look like this? Or what did they do? Was this in Photoshop or was this in camera? What were they looking at? What were they trying to accomplish? And I think in trying to imitate that, you know, for example, Peter McKinnon, lots of people know Peter McKinnon, trying to imitate his style and like what he's doing with his colors and the light that he does, you can really get a sense for how to use your camera better and just how to be a better photographer. And also figuring out, oh, I don't like that. I don't like the way that like the shadow is hitting over there. Or I like when the shadow is harsher and you get like a hard line on the face and it kind of looks like, you know, Dark Side of the Moon or, you know, things like that. Like I like that kind of artsy vibe. Or maybe you're like, I like the natural colors. I like the sun shining. Maybe you like the fog, you know? So there's like so many different like options and routes and I guess types of photographers that you can be within the photography field. So once you're able to imitate some of those things, you're able to figure out what you like. And it helps you to figure out how to use your camera better, how to use your settings better. And I think when I started doing that, that's when I started learning, oh, okay, like, you know, Peter McKinnon has his presets and I'm like, oh, wow, his presets are like kind of insane. But on certain photos on the way that they look, like the light, the way the light is hitting and the way the shadows are and the way, you know, the background is, whatever that might look like. Oh, okay, this preset looks amazing on this photo. And so trying to imitate what he is doing and then adding those presets or learning yourself how to color edit from those presets, you know, going in and saying, oh, hey, he set all of these different settings on his Lightroom for his preset. So I'm going to try to imitate some of them, or I'm going to change this color hue and see what happens, or I'm going to add vignette because I like vignette, you know. There's so many different options. And just, I think that buying a package of presets actually helped me to learn what I did or didn't like and what I needed to look for in photos or not look for in photos. So yeah, I think there's like a really big variety, but a big learning curve for yourself, right? Like photography is a personal journey. It's not like something that someone else can really say like, oh, you should do this. I mean, they can tell you that, but that doesn't mean you got to go do it.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun part of it too. That, you know, it's funny. I was actually going to ask you if you think like presets are like a detriment to things. Almost like thinking like, I feel like the majority of people out there would probably just buy Peter McKinnon's set and like just hit buttons until they hit one work rather than actually looking at the settings like you were doing and adjusting yourself. It's funny. And I personally rejected it. Everything I have no presets. I don't even have my own presets. Every photo I do is like a whole new edit. And it's just somehow it's all in my mind still. I don't know how.
Yeah, and I mean the Lightroom updated to have a bunch of presets, which are actually amazing. So I've actually used quite a few of those when it upgraded. But I'll use that as like a base. I'll start there, and then that way I get a consistent color throughout my images. But each image doesn't work with that preset because the lighting is different, the location is different, what the model or what the person is wearing is different. So the colors look slightly different. So you do kind of have to adjust for that. But if I'm taking an image in a very bright space versus a very dark space, and the shadows are, light or like really heavy over here and really light over here, the preset is going to look really different on the photo. So trying to use that as just like a baseline for like my colors on Instagram or on social media, and then going from there and saying, okay, what do I want my photos to look like, and not just this preset.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's great advice too. Start at the base and then tweak. Do you use presets for like your video stuff as well?
No, I don't. I don't even really have a plugin for that. I've got I do use like Premiere Pro, but I just like hand edit the color typically. Like I'll put it on the extra, like, get technical here, but like the extra video layer, the adjustment layer, and I'll adjust the video on there, and then I will or adjust the color on there and then apply it to whatever parts of the video. But I mean, same goes for video. Like one clip is very sunny, one clip is very dark. So kind of have to adjust for that.
Yeah, for sure. Nick, I think that's kind of wrapping it up for me. Do you have any last questions for?
Thanks for coming on. It was great.
No, this was so fun.
Yeah, it was good. I think I learned a lot through this. So hopefully Nick did too, because he can use it.
This is great.
Oh my gosh, thanks guys. I feel like you guys are like so professional compared to me.
I don't know if you'd have to actually work with us. I don't think you'd be saying that.
I feel like the whole photography world is just like pretty casual though. It's not really so much about like, oh, I'm so much better than you. It's just like, oh, hey, like, let's learn together. Like, let's figure this out. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm just going to echo what Nick said. Thanks for coming on. We will wrap this up. We'll probably play our outro, and we'll call this an end of the night.
Next time we're in Calgary, Leroy wanted to make sure we do a collab with you, so we'll have to.
I would absolutely love
remember that.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll remember. No, I'm so excited. I hope we can do just something like totally ridiculous. I think it'll be great.
That'll be awesome.
Thank you for having me, guys.
For sure. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Cool, Nick. Another great interview with Kelsey.
Yeah.
Honestly, my mind's kind of mind blown right now. I'm gonna have to watch.
I know.
That
I was
back
thinking
and probably take a lot of her advice.
She should do although you won't get paid as much, but I could see like just a nightly or weekly live, like Ask Kelsey. You come on there and people just like, I would sit in and watch it to listen to people come in and her kind of give out marketing advice to them. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, no kidding. Do you know what the shameful part is like, I feel like I'm like 25 years older than her, and like, she's way smarter at this stuff.
Oh, I know. It's such
like,
good advice. It's really good.
Anyways, Nick, I think that's it for us as well. We'll wrap up the night. We'll probably play the intro. Actually, do we want to do a shelf of shame? Do you have a shelf of shame?
You
can say no.
Let me just actually look up at my shelf here right now.
We are live, Nick. You don't have time to walk to a shelf if you don't have it.
I don't have it right in front of me, no.
All right, whatever. I do, but we'll do it another show. And yeah, we'll just wrap this up. We'll end it. And how about your last words of wisdom? You always
okay. I was actually thinking about the last words of wisdom, and I might have a real last words of wisdom. I watched that video that you sent me, and it was really good. And basically, the premise of it is when you go out to film something, don't forget to ask why.
Right. What's your why? What's your, the main point of your video, right?
So it's like, where are you going? Where are you, like, all of that stuff, that information is good, but then ask why they're doing it. And you might come up with something more meaningful, and meaningful is considerably better than just information in a video.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's good enough for an ending. It was a bit of a drag way to weigh that one down, but but we'll wrap it up. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Charge your batteries. Is that better?